look at India, and today India is a $1 trillion economy. So I'm sure 5,000 years ago when civilization started, there was no CI or there was no ministry or something who sat together and said that let's go and create a $1 trillion economy. But let's say there was no plan, but it happened over 5,000 years. And we are going to create another trillion in the next 10 years. 200 times faster, right? Or maybe 500 times faster, whichever way you want to look at it. 10 years, we will be a $2 trillion economy. And this 1 trillion, which is already on the table, let's say whosoever has it, let it be. Let them run with it. We are going to look at the share in the next 1 trillion. And that's my personal reason for having decided to start on my own. And so is the reason for, I think, millions of others who are starting on their own. And all these are nano, micro, small and medium enterprises. They're really, really at the bottom of the pyramid, right? But what's generally at the bottom of the pyramid is the foundation, right? That's the way one has to look at it. And it's the roots of the large tree which sit at the bottom. And I think these are the organizations which will make the next $1 trillion happen, not the very, very large firms which will be, because of whatever reason, the lack of ambition, the complacency, the inertia, whatever it could be. And I'm not saying, making a sweeping statement. Many large industries in India, I think they will grow 3, 4, 5 times bigger while the economy grows only double in size. But just look at the numbers, sheer numbers, that how much incremental more is coming into the market. And with that, I see huge amount of opportunity for smaller and medium enterprises and the new entrepreneurs, much more than the larger organizations. When we talk about size of the enterprise, I think one thing which the way it is defined, and earlier the reservation for the small sector used to be 5 crores of investment on this much in turnover, all of that. I think the way one should look at it, the small and medium enterprise, is not to do with the size, or it's not to do with the life cycle. So it's not like I'm a Maruti 800 today and in 5 years' time I'll become a BMW. No, Maruti 800 will never become a BMW. Maruti 800 has a place in society, it has place on the road, there's a segment which goes after it. That's how I would like to look at it. So it's not about saying that we are small and medium enterprise today and someday I'm going to grow and I'm going to become big. No, it could very well be the inherent nature of the business itself, that you have to remain a small and medium enterprise. Maybe it's the choice of the entrepreneur itself. Just the niche in which you are operating doesn't allow you to, it doesn't necessarily need to, right, become a very, very large enterprise. So I think this definition in terms of the only size and the scale, and it's again, I would say irrelevant from another point of view also. When Indian economy was maybe $500 billion, maybe that was 20 years back, what was the definition of a small enterprise? What is the definition of a small enterprise today? And what will be the definition of a small enterprise in another 10 or 20 years' time? So it's not that you will be a small enterprise, you will have to remain a 20 crore enterprise to be called a small enterprise. 20 years later, maybe even if you are a 200 crore enterprise, still you will be seen as a small enterprise. And in India, so many times I say that we are lucky to be sitting in a sort of time machine. Look at Europe, look at US, and you can very well project that how so many terms, so much jargon, so many benchmarks, they are all played out. I'm not saying they will play out in the same way. We'll bypass a lot of learning process. We'll do it faster, we'll do it better, we'll do it our own way. But still the end result benchmarks, if one has to compare, one can very well see that a 200 crore enterprise will not be a large enterprise in 2020 even. In 1992, when I finished my MBA and came into work, every large company in this country had, maybe there were 100 of them who had the simple slogan, 2000 by 2000. And that was 2,000 crores by 2000. Turnover, right? If you people have been reading newspaper, even not so carefully, you would be seeing that there are a large number of companies, and more than 10, I would say already, which are making more than 1,000 crore profit every quarter in this country. And we were talking 2000 by 2000, that was an extremely ambitious target, and not many achieved it. There were a lot more new companies which came into the play. There was no Infosys, there were no L&T at this scale at that point of time. There was no consumer product companies, there was no Future Group in retail, there was no PVR. They all have come from somewhere during that period and become much larger than the target which was set by the players who existed at that point of time. So size, scale, I think that's not the key. It's the nature of the business. Somewhere I read long back, the middle class, being middle class in India is defined as a certain income level. And middle class, being middle class person or being middle class family is not about income, it's about the attitude you have towards life. It's exactly the same thing I believe is to do with the small and medium enterprises. It's about the attitude, it's about the approach which you take. And it's nothing to do with the number of zeros you have. You'll 2,000 crore and you'll still be small when we'll be as large as US at a $13 trillion economy. A $400 million company is not a company you will even recognize, even in the state in which they're operating in US, forget about being recognized anywhere else in the world. So I think that's nothing to do with it. It's the attitude, it's the approach which you are taking. That's one thing which I would like to put on table here in the conference, that that's how it needs to be looked at. And being the foundation of the larger industry is very, very critical that these industries are supported, and these industries should attract best of the talent coming in, not like somebody said that the 4 MNCs. That's something which worries me all the time. I used to wonder where all the MBAs are going. And since I never used to hire people, let's say from very large number of MBA institutes in my large company employment where I was there till recently, when I started meeting people when I'm starting my own, that let's look at all these names I keep on hearing, these institutes exist, where do these people go? And I was surprised to see that where do these people go? The MBAs, where are they going and what exactly they are doing? They are being analysts with the knowledge companies, they are BPOs, and they are doing stuff which I as an MBA, in 92 when I came out, there were only 3,200 MBA seats in this whole country. I think IIMs have more seats than that today. And we never ever would have thought of becoming an analyst, right? Always we look for front-ending job, but that's how it's changed. But now this small and medium enterprise sector, where somebody said they don't even have marketing departments. Why don't they have marketing departments? They don't want to have a marketing department? No, they want to have. But they cannot have because most of the people who are MBAs, who are qualified to be being in those departments, they are not interested to go and work with these companies. Because again, the sexiness of being large, multinational, well-reputed names and being a very, very, I would say for the next job your resume builds, or your resume for the marriage market, also whatever reasons are there, people are still stuck on those things which I think even 20 years ago some people like us never paid attention to. That worries. So MSME sector has to, like IT sector, like many other sectors in this country who have created the BPO sector and the knowledge sector and the retail sector, we created such a hype that so many people, thousands and thousands of people got attracted to go into that, millions maybe. I think the MSME sector has to do that, and I really, really like that point in terms of the brand building, the people who are involved in this, all of them to do much more than this. Nobody knows NSIC as they know NASSCOM. So Dr. Kumar can very well say that more effort can be put in, but NASSCOM, even at a stage when NASSCOM was nothing was better known than NSIC today. I had to take out the card to look at it, what does exactly NSIC stand for? I know the logo, I have seen it, it's in Okhla, it's very visible, but I didn't know that. So I think that's another thing which has to happen, that if the sector has to grow, sector has to become competitive, sector has to stay in the game, definitely the branding all across, whether for the companies to employ right kind of people or whether for the enabling organizations to be seen as the enabling organization and have fruitful impact on the organization, I think the branding is a very, very important key. So like just to end, I think I'm already beyond my 10 minutes time. When I was talking about that the roots, MSME is at the bottom of the pyramid. So it's at the root of the large tree, which is the large industry, large economy, which will be 2 trillion and hopefully in my lifetime will cross 5 million also. What happens to the roots? They keep on going deeper and deeper. When the tree grows, the roots have to become deeper. This sector will grow. And finally what happens? The roots on a banyan tree, they start appearing on top of the tree. And they are much more prominent. So what do I mean by that? I think even the largest of the organizations depend on micro, small, and medium kind of innovations, initiatives within their firm. Last point on this, that for the student, that when you're looking at what are you trying to achieve, I think in a country like India, one should look at that, how many jobs am I creating? Rather than looking for how many jobs can I be sitting for and how many jobs I have in hand when I get out of campus. You can only carry one. At any point of time, you can carry only one if you read your appointment letter carefully. You should not be working for 2 jobs, in India at least. So you'll be carrying only one. So that's always one. How many you can create, and that's what one has to look at it. And then again on the size, don't think about how much revenue and how much market cap I have created. Just look at this number, that how many jobs I could create. And I think that's in this country, given the way the size of the industry is, I think every single person has to think in terms of that, can I create a job rather than asking for one? And I think that will make the most impact on this. And the way the government is attending to it and the organizations are coming together to support this sector, whether in terms of credit or investment or equity point of view, I think there is a huge amount of support available. Compare it with any other part of the world, I don't think people get this kind of a support. And I have some experience of looking at some other developing and emerging markets.